Well, hey, welcome. We are glad that you are here. It's good to see our spring breakers who haven't left town. Man, I love the spring. It was a while though, that smoke yesterday. I walked outside and it was like, is there a fire? Oh, it's like 200 miles away, but you can still smell it. So we're praying that stops. Pray that ceases and does not continue on. If you're new here to Trinity Church, if someone could get the lights, that would be great. If you're new here to Trinity Church, we want to say a special welcome to you. We love meeting new people. We love meeting visitors. Like Jeff has mentioned, we have a table in the back, and we'd love to meet you there, tell you more how you can get connected to our community. Right now, we are preaching through some of the Psalms, and this morning we come to Psalm 131. It is one of the 4 shortest Psalms in the whole book of Psalms. Last week we looked at the longest. This week we look at one of the shortest. And this psalm, I'm about to read it to you, is about contentment, finding rest and peace in God. So let me read it to you. It is a beautiful, potent psalm. Been looking forward to getting into this with you. Psalm 131, verse 1 through 3. O Lord, my heart is not lifted up. My eyes are not raised too high. I do not occupy myself with things too great and too marvelous for me, but I have calmed and quieted my soul like a weaned child with its mother. Like a weaned child is my soul within me. O Israel, hope in the Lord from this time forth and forevermore. This is the word of the Lord. Contentment. When it was several years ago when I was living in Houston, I was dating Megan at the time. I lived in a townhouse that we were renting with my brother. My brother and I were roommates. And this one particular afternoon, I decided to get some space from the sermon that I was working on, which was from Philippians 4, which is almost like a New Testament version of this passage about contentment. And so I went on a run, I came back, I came to the door, and I found the door to be locked. And then I was like, I don't have my keys, I don't have a shirt, and I don't have my cell phone. And so there I was, locked out of my townhouse apartment with nowhere to go. I had no shirt, I had no phone, I couldn't call anyone. I tried to figure out for like half an hour if I could break in to this place that we lived. I couldn't find a way in. So there I was just stuck. And so I spent the first 30 minutes just frustrated, wandering around, but I couldn't go too far because I don't have a shirt on. And so there I was. And then I realized, okay, I don't know how long this is going to take. I have no idea when my brother is coming home, and I'm just out there stuck. And then it occurred to me, oh wait, I'm having to write a sermon on contentment. Maybe this is what I'll do. So I'll just sit here and think about it. So I spent time praying. I spent time thinking. 6 hours go by. 6 hours go by. The first half, there were waves coming and going of frustration. And what do I do? Why did my brother, lock the door? Why don't I have a cell phone? Is my girlfriend Megan trying to call me right now? I'm freaking out about that. And so 6 hours go by. By the time my brother comes home, it's pitch black, and I'm just laying on the grass, just laying there on my back, just looking up at the stars. And he comes walking in, I was like, Mark, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, you're finally back. And I had reached this place of perfect contentment. It was not perfect, but really there was this moment where I got into this mode where I was just like, you know what? There's nothing I can do. I'm not in control. All I can do here is just pray, think about God, and enjoy creation. Now, I will be honest with you, a sermon on contentment, you can ask anyone who knows me super well. There's some moments in this psalm where the psalmist, and when I refer to Paul's Philippians 4 passage, it's like they've arrived. It's like they're like, I'm here, I've made it, I've figured this out. I've wrestled with that this week because I'll just confess to you from the beginning, I have not figured this out perfectly. There are moments in life where I experience, I think, the contentment that they're talking about, but I just want to be on, I am a fellow traveler, a fellow struggler along with you. I am not coming to you saying I am completely content all the time. And it almost appears, though, that some of these guys may be. I don't think that's the case. But hey, if you struggle, welcome. Our world, the world that we live in, man, it is tough. It is a battle to find contentment in life. But if you look around, how much of our culture and our world is this striving to find it? I mean, like the money that people are after, the hobbies that people are after, the workouts, the nutrition, all the different things in our city that people are after. How much of it is about this like pursuit of contentment? People are looking for it. It's a longing of the heart. And I think it's legitimate that it's a longing of the heart because God has given us that longing. So what is contentment? Contentment, what is it? Contentment, from a biblical definition, is to have a peace, a rest, a joy, regardless of the circumstances. A peace and a rest and a joy, regardless of the circumstances. The opposite of contentment is envy. Envy. Envy, not envying anyone or resenting what God has given them or us. It's getting in this place where you are not envying what other people have. You're not envying other people's situation. You are content and thankful for the circumstances, the limitations, the lot in life that God has given you. Now, I'm also not going to say that a Christian is not ambitious. A Christian should be ambitious. But what kind of ambition? Ambition for what? Your own greatness, or ambition to seek the glory of God and make his name known? So our outline this morning from Psalm 131 is 3 simple points. Number 1, what prevents contentment? What prevents contentment? Number 2, what is the source of contentment? And number 3, our activity in contentment. What's our activity in it? So number 1, what prevents contentment? Notice the first verse. He talks about something he doesn't do. O Lord, my heart is not lifted up. So my heart is not lifted up. My eyes are not raised too high. I do not occupy myself with things too great and too marvelous for me. What is he talking about here? He is talking about what prevents contentment. When we seek great things for the sake of greatness. When we seek great things for the sake of our own greatness, our own fame. Notice I don't lift my heart up. My eye is not raised too high. I do not occupy myself with things too great and too marvelous for me. What is he talking about? Being in this position where I am seeking out whatever for the sake of my own greatness and fame and glory. That is a killer, a murderer of your own contentment. One, because you'll never get enough. You'll never get enough greatness, enough popularity, enough approval to ever satisfy yourself. The phrase, I do not occupy, like I do not occupy with things too great or too marvelous for me. This is kind of like saying, I don't waste my time and energy on things just to be seen as great. I don't waste my time with trying to gain the popularity or the approval of other people. I don't waste my time with that. So this person's, he's content. Part of what he's not doing is wasting his time trying to get other people to approve of him. Get other people to be impressed with him. He doesn't occupy himself with that. That's a waste of his time. But notice what also is involved here. Notice what he talks about with himself. He talks about his heart, his eyes, and he says eye, heart, eyes. It's really this way of describing his whole being. I think part of what's being said here is this effort to not occupy ourselves with things too great or too marvelous for us is all-encompassing. It requires all of who we are. There is an intense pull in all of our eyes and all of our hearts and all of ourselves to have the approval of other people, to be seen as great, to be seen as respected. I mean, think about the last time you were offended, when you were upset, when you were frustrated with someone else. How much of it did it have to do with not being respected enough? not being recognized enough. The last time you had an intense conflict with someone, how much was it you weren't getting the respect you thought you deserved? It's a contentment murderer. Jeremiah 45:5. Jeremiah is talking to, in the setting of Israel is living in exile. So it's a very bad situation. Their country has been destroyed. They have been taken as like prisoners and exiles, and they're living in another country. And he says this famous line, "Do you seek great things for yourself? Seek them not." Do you seek great things for yourself? Seek them not. And the context is they live in an evil, wicked empire. Okay, Babylon. They're in Babylon. It is a wicked, evil place. And the whole implication here is if you seek great things for yourself in this culture, what's going to end up happening? You're going to get wrapped up in all kinds of evil. It's a dangerous world that we live in. The same can be said here. If your goal is to seek great things for yourself in our culture, in Austin, Texas, that is a dangerous game to play. Now, it doesn't mean, once again, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't seek to, even climb a ladder or have more influence or have more impact. But why? What is your motivation? What are you after? Part of also of what this is talking about is just in life receiving the good gift of limits. Receiving the good gift of limits. There's a sense in this psalm where he's like, I have certain limitations. I have certain, circumstances that God has given me in this time, in this place. And I'm going to be okay with that. I'm going to embrace the good limitations that God has given me. Have you learned anything about receiving the good gift of limits that God has given you? Our culture is like, it's almost like there's this mindset that like, there are no limits. And any limitations in life can be broken, can be surpassed, can be broken through, and that limitations are like hell almost. But the reality is, guys, we have all kinds of limitations that we cannot get past. We are overwhelmed. I mean, guys, do you ever feel that there is too little time, too much to do? Do you feel chronically pressured and restless? Do you feel never finished, that there's no time for the really important things in life? Our culture gives us endless opportunities to fill our time with, and we're exhausted. I mean, with work, recreation, vacation, school, homework, kids, sports, specialty lessons for kids, working out, community stuff, hobbies, this, that, immediate family, extended family. Our schedules can just get filled to the max because there's this mindset, the more you have going on, the better. The bigger, the better. The more, the better. More. Bigger, better, better. Go. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. What do you say no to? Do you say no to things? Do you embrace the limits that God has given you? Because we are finite creatures. We need sleep, okay? We have to have a certain amount of sleep to be healthy. We have to stop and eat food. We are limited by our location. We can't be in multiple places at the same time. We are limited by time. We only have so much time. We have a certain gender that God has given us, and that's a limitation. Our cars break down. Our houses get broken. Our houses need fixed. We get hurt. Like there's all kinds of things in life that slow us down, that limit us. And part of this psalm is like, hey, embrace the limits that God has given you. Limits are a huge theme in the Bible. Huge theme. Go back to the beginning in Genesis. The first story is when in the creation narrative, when God is creating the world, there's this line that's repeated 7 times. Separation. God separates the land from the water. He separates this, he separates that. He separates all these different things. Then he separates, there's like a separation between man and him. We are not God. God is not us. He's the creator. We're not a creator. He then even gives us a rule. Here is a tree that you cannot eat from. You have a limitation. Here's a limitation. You can't eat this fruit. If you do, you will die, and you will be separated from your body one day. There will be even separation from your body. There's a limitation here, a consequence. When they sin and they eat the fruit, they're separated from the garden. They get kicked out. They can't come back. There's now a separation between them and their maker. When Jesus comes, what does he do? He takes away the separation. He unites himself with us, and through his death and resurrection and our faith in him, then we're rebound to God. Even that, the cross is about a unity, a kind of reconciliation of what has been separated. Separation is all over the place, and the implication of all this separation and joining and union and brokenness, limitations. We have limits. There are boundaries. The incarnation, when Jesus comes to earth, when God takes on flesh. Think about all the implications about limitations, that there are limits. Okay? Jesus is not bound. Before the incarnation, before he took on flesh and became a person, he was in a sense limitless in many ways. He could see more, he could be in more places, he was God, right? So when he takes on flesh, part of what he did was take on limitations. He chose to embrace a world of limits, taking on a human body. He was limited by time. He did not travel to Europe, Asia, or Africa. He was limited by a certain location. I mean, when Jesus was here, he could have traveled, he could have walked wherever he wanted to. He decided, I'm going to stay in basically a few 100-mile radius. This is God. This is the person who made everything, and here he is, staying limited to a certain location. He was limited by food. He was limited by work. He worked a blue-collar job for 30 years with the power to do miracles, but he chose not to. He didn't work a miracle for 30 years. He just did a normal, blue-collar, regular job in one place, and he was perfectly what? Content. He was content with that. He was content with not breaking the limits of sin ever. He never sinned. There were a lot of things he could have done, but he didn't. He limited himself on purpose, and he was content. There's this interesting line in John chapter 4 where it says that it's a little comment that John makes about Jesus. I just find it fascinating. It's when he's been doing miracles and people are crowding around him. They're wanting to make him famous, right? They're wanting to put him up and exalt him and be like, be our leader, right? Take over. You've got these cool powers. Let's do it. And it says, he did not entrust himself to man, for he knew what was in man. He did not entrust himself to man, for he knew what was in man. It's kind of like this stoic, almost morbid line. No, I don't want this fame that you guys want to give me. The fame that you want to give me, I don't trust you. I know what's in you. I'm not about that. He limited himself. There's a fun story about a professor at Georgetown named Parker Palmer. He was an author, a teacher, kind of a well-known guy there, and they asked him to be the president of Georgetown University. So here's a prof asked to be the president of Georgetown University. And so he invites some of his close friends over for dinner and to tell him about it and to seek counsel. I need some wisdom. I need some counsel on this. And one of his friends asked, well, what would you like about this job? What would you like about being the president of a university? And he said, well, I wouldn't like giving up teaching. I wouldn't like giving up writing. I wouldn't like never knowing who your real friends are. I wouldn't like giving up summer vacations. I wouldn't like wearing a suit and tie all the time. And then they were like, the question was, what would you like about it? Not what would you not like about it. And he said, to be honest, I would like having the title president and maybe being in a magazine and having my picture there. And they all looked at him and he's like, okay, I'll take my name out of consideration. So he didn't do it. I love this. Here's a guy who's he could have probably worked his way and gotten the job and maybe had more money and maybe, had a promotion and been seen as a greater. He's kind of I know my limitations. That's not what I want to do. I asked someone this week, if they would preach here at this church several weeks from now. And they immediately said no. They were like, that's not my gift. That's not. And I thought, when they said that, I thought, I so respect this person even more. They're aware of what their gifts are. They're aware of what their skills are. And no, I'm not going to occupy with things that are not a part of my gift set and who I am. Why are you involved in the things that you're involved in? The things that take up your time, especially if you're a person who often feels frantic, who often feels overwhelmed. Why are you involved in the things that you're involved in? Why are you spending your time doing the things you're doing? Is it for your fame, your greatness, the approval of someone? Are you having a hard time saying no to someone, to something? Versus stepping back and being like, hey, I'm not going to occupy with things too great or too marvelous for me. It's okay. You don't need that. So point number one, what prevents contentment? Just a heart condition of seeking other people's approval and seeking greatness that we don't need and that we don't need to pursue. Number two, the source of contentment. What is the source of contentment? Now this one's tricky. This is interesting. Verse 2 is the answer to this question, the source of contentment. But I have calmed and quieted my soul. Like a weaned child with its mother, like a weaned child is my soul within me. Now what's going on there? Okay, a couple things. The source of contentment in this passage right here, verse 2, it's trusting in God's process of growth and development. Trusting in God's process of growth and development. Notice the agency here. Notice the responsibility here. This person he's doing something. He's learned something. I have calmed. I have quieted something. So he's taken on the responsibility. Huge point here. Key in learning how to be a more content person. You are responsible. You are responsible for your contentment. It's something you learn. It's something you do. You have agency over it. If you find yourself constantly blaming other people for you not being content, no, it's on you. It's on you. You are responsible for your own contentment and peace and rest of soul in life. Because he's saying, I have done it. I have calmed and quieted my soul. Now, like a weaned child with its mother, he uses this analogy. What is this about? Well, we know he's talking about learning something. We know he's talking about this is a learned thing because of the analogy. The analogy is like a weaned child. Now, what is a weaned child? A weaned child is a baby that goes from nursing to not nursing. A baby that goes from nursing to eating solid food. Learning to eat apart from its mother being the source, okay? So this is what this is talking about. Now, when I first read this, I don't know if you've had this experience, but when I've read this, for some reason, I was envisioning the baby when they're just in that drunk, state of they just had all the milk and they're in their mother's arms and they're just the cutest thing ever. They're just out cold because they're drunk on milk. That's not what this is talking about. This is the kid who's I forgot how old kids are when they're weaned, but they're sitting on the mom's lap and they don't nurse anymore. That's who this is. The other interesting thing about this is, what does this child represent? The baby that's been weaned is his soul. He's saying, my soul is the baby in the illustration. My own soul is the child in this illustration. Now, that's interesting. So what he's saying is, my soul is something that I have to almost look at externally to myself and talk to it and say, hey, soul, quit acting like a baby. Quit being like a baby. What is a baby when they're nursing before they're weaned? They are out of control. They have no patience. They cannot wait. They get almost kind of like angry, when they're wanting to eat. They have no control. There's no ability to wait, to be patient. When they want it now, and you just have to give it to them or they will go nuts. They will throw a tantrum. They will scream. That noise, it's just like, ugh, give that baby some milk. It's not like they have this way of just destroying your eardrums. He's saying, your soul can be like that baby. Your soul can be this entity that cannot wait. It has to have it now. It has no patience. A content person has learned something. They've learned to wait on God. They have learned to put their hope in God. They have learned to have self-control, to not have to always just be satisfied. Always their circumstances have to always be changing. They're always trying to manipulate and control. They can get locked out of their house without a shirt and without a cell phone, and eventually, 6 hours later, be okay, right? Now, I'm not expecting people to not have a shirt, but could you get locked out of your house, have no cell phone, just be cut off from the grid? And would you be okay? Or would you have a complete nervous breakdown because you've lost your phone and your ability to communicate to other people? Could you survive? It might be challenging, but you should be able to get there. I have taught my soul to be calm and quiet. That is what he's saying. This is very similar to the passage that I referenced before, Philippians 4. Paul says almost the same exact thing in different Greek words in the New Testament. Let me read it to you. Paul says this, "Not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned listen to this, whatever situation I am, to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. I can do all things through him who gives me strength." Now that last line, I can do all things through him who gives me strength, at least when I was a kid in the 80s and the 90s, the most taken out of context passage of scripture in the whole Bible. It was like, you put that on your shoe if you're going to play a basketball game. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I'm going to win this game by the power of Christ. It's kind of like, I can run faster now all of a sudden, or now I can jump higher. I've got superpowers, right? That's not what this passage is saying. This passage is saying almost the opposite of what we used to say that it said back in the 90s. It's saying, even if you're poor or wealthy, if you win or lose, whatever the circumstances, Christ gives you a power to be content. To be content if you win or lose, if you're poor or if you're wealthy. It's interesting that he even makes the point. He's like, you have to learn contentment even when you're wealthy. Like when he has abundance, when he has a whole lot of things at his disposal, that's just as dangerous of a place to learn contentment than having little, being needy. Either way, if you're needy or if you're wealthy, he's like, you have to learn this secret of being content, whatever the circumstances. Now, another very interesting thing about that verse and this verse is neither of them, when they talk about this high and lofty thing of being content no matter the circumstances, in both cases, it is not an intense directive. It's not a command. Notice it's like in the first person. It is in the first person. He's saying, hey, just so y'all know, I've learned this. The psalmist in Psalm 131, he's like, hey, I've got something I've figured out. I want to show it to you. I've noticed with this, if you come at people and you're like, hey, even if I come at myself or at you and I'm like, hey, you better be content no matter the circumstances. It's almost like, whoa, no. It's like it's overwhelming. It's like, all right, what do I do? I have to, it's almost like, it's like an invitation. It's like, hey guys, I want to show you something. I have figured this thing out. Here it is. Do you want it or not? Are you interested in this? Check it out. It's an interesting approach. Now, why would he do it this way? Because it's something that is learned. The whole weaning illustration here It's something that is learned. We have to learn it. If you come to a baby, an infant, and you're like, hey, here's a steak, it's kind of like, no, it takes time. There's a development process. We take time. We need time. We need help. We need training. We need coaching. It's something we learn over time, and that's the third point. Our activity in contentment. Our activity in contentment is this, verse 3. O Israel, hope in the Lord, from this time forth and forevermore. Contentment, the ultimate word to give you to learn contentment, is hope. What are you hoping in? Where is your hope? What is that thing in life that is your if only? Your if only. That thing in life that you're like, if I had that, then I would be happy. Then I would be at rest. Then I would have true joy in life. Because as we move about life, maybe when you became a Christian at first, you tasted the gospel and you saw Jesus, the living God, for the first time. And it was like, whoa, you experienced this joy and this peace and this rest. But I know how it is. You begin your adventure of the Christian life and you're walking along 5, 10, 15 years. And then all of a sudden you're kind of like, what is my hope in life? Oh, it's having a house. What is my hope in life? Having more money. What is my hope in life? My kids' education. Our hope can get pulled and shifted and moved around. And we can forget the ultimate hope in life the only thing that will ever give you what you long for is our Maker, Jesus Christ, our Savior, our Lord. O Israel, hope in the Lord from this time forth and forevermore. So application. What are some things we can do? What are the things that are going to be that help us learn how to put our hope in Jesus? I got a couple things for you. Number one, this may feel like a curveball, but I think it's crucial. Learning right doctrine. Learning right doctrine. Learning the Bible. Learning the Word. How do we see Jesus? How do we know Him? How do we grow in our trust of Him and our hope in Him? His words to us and learning it rightly. I heard this amazing story about there were some soldiers in London, England during World War II. And London, it was bombed, I think, with I can't remember the kids, 600 tons of bombs from Germany over the whole course of World War II. London was just blasted. And so there would be troops there helping the civilians that were still there. They moved all the kids away, but a lot of the adults were still there. And so the troops were there to help, when London's getting bombed, to help, get people to bomb shelters and safe places. And there's this one story of these two soldiers don't know each other, but they find themselves in the street and they're helping some people along. And they both notice they just had this certain composure. They had a certain peace about their business in a very crisis situation. Loud, bombs are going off, people are screaming. But they looked at each other and they both felt they both had this composure. It's almost like a contentment. And one of them looked at the other and they made eye contact. And he said to him, what is the chief end of man? And the other one looked back at him, to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. And then the other one said, I thought you were a Westminster man. It's I love that story. I love it. These two guys have been taught right theology, doctrine, Bible, right? And here they are, and they're both composed, and they look at each other. It's almost like they knew. They knew. There's something about this person. There is a contentment and a peace that grows in our hearts as we learn the Word of God and we learn His doctrines and we learn His truth, because that's number one. Number two, we learn in the school of suffering. We learn in the school of suffering. Suffering is a key component that God uses. One, to what? Strip our hands of hoping and grabbing and clinging on to the things of this world. People who learn to suffer well over time, what do we learn? We learn our life is not in this world. It's going to be lost. I'm going to die. I'm going to get sick. All this stuff eventually is going to be lost. But God, who is big and sovereign and powerful, promises that He will work all things together for the good of those who love Him and are called according to His purposes. Romans 8:28. The school of suffering is key in our growing and our contentment. And as we suffer, recognizing God is sovereign over it, He is good, He is in control, and I'm going to trust Him with what He does with my life. If you don't learn that key truth, contentment, almost impossible eventually. You must embrace God's word and His truth about suffering and God's sovereign purposes over it. Number 3, learning the foolishness of idolatry. Learning the utter foolishness of idolatry. That when we put our hope in things of this world, it's like trying to fill our soul when we're hungry and we're starving with candy. And God is offering something just solid food, a filet mignon of His presence. You know, Jesus says, I am the bread of life. You know, bread kind of gets a bad rap these days. Back then, you had to eat bread to survive, okay? So Jesus saying, I am the bread of life. I am the food that's going to fill your soul. When you go and you feast with your soul on candy and trash and stuff that will never actually fill you up, but just make you even more hungry, it's idolatry. Learning the foolishness of idolatry. Number 4, this is a really big one. Learning that God made you unique. God made you unique. Everyone has a different face. Even twins. We've got a couple of twins around here. You go look at them at first, you're kind of like, I don't know who's who here. But even twins, a mother knows. Everybody is made unique. Everybody is different. You have unique gifts and skills that God has given you. Now, those gifts and skills also mean limitations. You're not other people. I don't go into my drawer and pull out the can opener and think, why can't you be a cheese grater, you dumb can? No, I know. It's a can opener, right? I don't go to like a skillet, in the drawer and pull it out and be like, why can't I drink wine out of you? He's not a wine glass, okay? Everybody is made unique, right? You are made with unique gifts and skills and talents. Embrace those. You probably are only really good at like 2 things. You're probably only good at like 2 things. Let's be content in that and okay with that. When you show up to heaven, God is not going to be like, why weren't you, Graham, more like Moses? He's not going to say to Sam, why weren't you more like the Apostle Paul? Cade, why weren't you more like Martin Luther? No, he's going to be like, Cade, I made you to be you. I made Sam to be Sam. I made Graham to be Graham. I made Toby to be Toby. He didn't make me to be Toby, okay? We're different. We're all unique and different. Embracing the limitations of your gifts and your skills. Last one, learning God's timing. God's timing is not our timing. I was frustrated about something this week. I reached out to Jacob about it. He just made this really wise line that I knew, but I needed to hear it in the moment. It hit my heart. And it's kind of like, our timing usually never works out is the same as God's timing. Our timing is usually never the same as God's timing. That's a key, that is so crucial for learning contentment in life. A story that I love in the Bible, I love all the stories in the Bible, but one that I love this morning is Jesus was walking along one day. Jesus was walking along, and people were crowding around him, wanting his attention, wanting him to do things for him. And a man named Jairus came up to him, and Jairus, he was in a serious crisis. His daughter was dying, and at any moment, she was going to be dead. So he comes to Jesus, urgent, pleading with him, Jesus, will you please come and heal my daughter? I heard that you can heal people. I've even heard that you raised someone from the dead. Can you come and heal my daughter? And so Jesus says to him, yeah, I'll come with you. Let's go. So he's coming with him, and they're walking along. And even in the story, you get this impression, there's almost like this, it's about timing. Jairus is like, let's go, come on, hurry up, we got to get there. And Jesus is just kind of strolling along. All of a sudden, there's like all these people crowded around him. And it's like he stops. And Jairus is over here like, dude, my daughter is about to die. Are you going to do this or not? Get on my timetable, man. And Jesus is over here. And a woman, here's another timing situation. There's a woman who's been bleeding, and she's had a serious health crisis for 12 years. 12 years. I mean, she's seen as unclean. I could get into all her story, but a very difficult suffering. And so she is almost, it's like she's ashamed to maybe talk to Jesus, I don't know. But she decides she's just going to, instead of trying to interact with him, if I just touch his garment, maybe if I just touch his clothes, then I'll be healed. Because she's already seen all the doctors. She feels like she has no hope. She reaches out, touches Jesus' clothes through the crowd, and instantly she's healed. So here you have a person she's already been waiting 12 years. Jairus is over here, and he's like, I need help immediately. She can wait. She's already been waiting 12 years. Jesus stops and then has an interaction with her about what has happened. So he's interacting with this person who's already been sick for 12 years. Meanwhile, Jairus' daughter dies. She dies. Jairus, if I'm him, I'll just be honest, if I'm him, I'm furious in this moment. I lost my daughter because you're going to stop and help some lady who's been bleeding for 12 years? Who cares? Heal her tomorrow, Like later, this is my daughter. You let her die? I would be furious. I'll be honest. Jesus interacts with her. He looks at Jairus when he's done with her. Hey, she's not dead, she's only sleeping. When Jairus knows, no, she's dead. Jesus shows up to the house. People are mourning. He says it again. She's only sleeping. They laugh at him. What are you talking, like what? He goes up into her room. He goes up to her. He kneels next to her bed. Dead body. He says to her, little girl, wake up. She comes back from the dead. One of the few resurrection stories we have in the life of Jesus. There could have been more, but we have a few. Jairus sees this. Now, it hits them in different ways. How is that story supposed to hit us? Why did they put that story in the Gospels? That story is intended to hit us a certain way. God's timing is not your timing. God's timing is not your timing. But God's timing is good. He sees above the timeline. He sees the future. He sees the past. He knows what you want, and he cares about you. And he has his own time, and he is good. What is that thing that's just killing your contentment? Because you're wrestling with God on his timing. There's something you want to happen now. There's something you want healed. There's something you want fixed. There's something you want changed. And God is just like, I want you to learn to wait. Our inability to trust and to lay it at his feet, that is what is killing our contentment. That's what's killing our contentment. See, Jesus, ultimately, he took on a lot of limitations. The most painful limitation that he took on is the limitation that shows you, yeah, it's hard, but you can't conclude that he doesn't love you. You can't conclude that he doesn't love you. Because the most painful limitation he took on was he took on your sin. He took on the punishment that we all deserve on the cross. He took on our life so that we could have his life, so that God could love us the way that he loves Jesus. So in your discontentment, in your suffering, in your hardship, Jesus is showing you, you can't conclude that I don't love you, because I took your sin upon myself to bring you close to me, to help you, to love you, to care for you.